Hey, welcome back to the Cold Brew. My name is Luke, and today we're going to go over a topic that I've seen come up in the search bar a little bit, sometimes in my recommended, but also because it's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and it's my friends have gone through it. I've seen it over and over again, and it's something that's talked about to a degree, but also there's certain bits in it that are not talked about, and that is developer burnout. So what would be a good example of burnout? Now, a silly example would be you're busy making a barbecue at home and you need some more wood to the fire and it gets bigger and bigger. That becomes a bonfire, and then it starts to spread to your house, and then you start to think to yourself, oh, this is fine, I'll let it continue. And then it grows and grows until it's out of control, and then it is really not fine. Now, you might find that example to be a bit silly, but the idea behind it is that to show you how something can escalate till it's out of control. Another good example is within the gaming industry, where they have a huge turnover of employees due to burnout. More specifically, the Activision Blizzard case, where they have a huge crunch time on their games, and as a result, a lot of these employees burn out and actually end up leaving the company. People experience burnout in different ways. Now, for me specifically, it's a sort of chain of events, as it were. I get a lot of work. That becomes anxiety, I overwork, fatigue, motivation then starts to dip, and then a complete crash and burnout. Now, other people might be experiencing things such as emotional issues or depression because of that workload, or just because they are just so stressed out that it then leads on to other issues. That's that whole case of your house is starting to burn down. I'll take an example from when I first started in software. I had just gotten my first job as a front-end developer. I didn't know really much of anything, but I was really excited and keen to grow and learn. So because I was new and wanted to learn and grow, I was really excited to take on anything that I could and grow as a developer. Now, this isn't a bad mindset to have. It is not bad to go and want to learn and want to grow. However, it is important on how you manage it. What would happen for me is I would start working late and working later and then not getting sleep. That fatigue would then start to build. And then the steps towards that burnout started to occur until it eventually did. So another issue from that same company that I had was the way that projects were managed. Now, this wasn't necessarily conflicts with the people there. At the end of it, I did have a few conflicts with one or two of the people, but that's besides the point. So with small companies or small tech companies, what tends to happen is they tend to oversell things to the clients. And as a result, these timelines become very small. And since the company is small, the developer sort of time that can be invested is also very small. And so the workload piles onto the developers within that team. So the team that I was working with at the time always had these very small deadlines. We were under major crunch, which resulted in our burnout actually happening quite regularly. Now, another reason for it that doesn't really get talked about, some people might find it a bit controversial, is developer culture. Now, I'm not talking about the developer culture within your company. That's not to say that some companies don't have bad developer culture, and that could cause it, but I'm talking about the online developer culture, and more specifically, the front-end developer culture space. So what I mean by that is there's always this ever-changing ecosystem. There's always a new library every week. There's a new testing framework. There's a new front-end framework. It's just an absolute, there's something new all the time. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that all these new things are coming out. It's actually a good thing to have all these different tools to work with, and it makes it exciting. The bad thing is the culture around it of always putting pressure on developers to learn everything in that space. Now, what I mean by that is when you're applying for a job, you might see you need X, Y, A, B, C, X to the power of 2 skills, and you must have 4 years experience after you've just gotten your first college degree. When you have to know all these different tools, frameworks, and sometimes languages, it can become quite overwhelming to stay up to date with all of them. And as a result, that sort of thing can impact your burnout. Now, this can start to put massive pressure on you as a developer, because then it becomes this fine balance, learning, work, and then normal social and just having fun. So then the question becomes, how do I manage a chilled lifestyle? So what exactly should you do to fix burnout? Well, this can vary from person to person. Now, I also respect that not everyone can do the things that I'm about to suggest. However, it's just about giving you a broad range of options in order to help you resolve or to stop a burnout from occurring again. So the first one is your health. I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that you're eating right and that you're getting enough water during the day. But on top of that, that you're getting exercise. I'm fortunate enough that I can go to the gym during my lunchtime. Now, obviously that's quite nice for me. Not everyone is able to do that. And also the gym is not for everyone. I for myself do not enjoy the gym. I do it to stay healthy and because I know that I need it. However, it can be as simple as just getting your butt outside and going for a walk. The next thing is your hobbies. I would consider my hobby to be gaming. And as such, my weekends are dedicated to my hobby. Now you might say, well, Luke, my hobby is also coding. That is also 100% fine. So when it comes to work, I find it to be a very different sort of, when you look at code at work, it's different than if you were working on a side project. The difference is when that side project becomes work. And that is where you have to sort of in your head manage it correctly. Because once that side project starts becoming work, that will then start to build those stacks onto your burnout. And that's important to understand. So just keep a fine line on your side project from becoming work and overdoing it. The next thing to do is to start scheduling your time correctly. Now, what I mean by that is you may want to always be learning and just growing your skills in your free time. Now, it's important to sort of make dedicated slots to that. So what I tend to do is when I wake up, I then dedicate 30 minutes to reading on my Kindle, and maybe in the evening I would work on something on my side project. But basically I keep my 9 to 5 for my work. Unless there's something really important that work needs from me, that 9 to 5 is my 9 to 5. So when I wake up, I make sure I have a shower, I do a little bit of reading before work, I hop into my first meeting, and then I do my normal work, go to gym, and then on top of that, at the end of the day, I might do a little bit more reading, or I'll do a little bit of side coding just to learn something new, and then I'll go play some games with my friends online. And what this helps me avoid is I stop trying to stay on top of everything. I'm still learning and I'm still growing as a developer. I'm still learning these new tools. It's more about making sure that you dedicate specific time to learning new things. I'm not always stressing about, oh, I don't know X, I don't know Y. I've dedicated time to learn X and Y in a more controlled manner. It's all about moderation, as they say. So you might check all the boxes that I've given, and that's a great steps towards it. Now, I'm not going to be an advocate for just packing up and leaving your current job. People have different situations at the end. They've got the gym, they've got a hobby, they are using their weekends for themselves, but they're finding that there's conflicts with people in the company. Maybe they're working overtime during the week and it's just ruining them. And as such, some people might find that looking for new opportunities is the only avenue, and that is also fine. So if you are going to look for a new job or you are going to look for a new opportunity, the biggest thing I can recommend is that you do it in the right way. Try not to burn bridges with the people that you're working with now. And on top of that, always when you're looking for something new, don't just hand in resignation and just pack up and go. Maybe you're fortunate enough that you can do that, and that's also fine. But if you're not in that situation, make sure that you have something to lead onto and do it in the right way, and make sure that you are able to sort of sustain yourself if you just chose to pack up and go. Now, some of you might be in burnout and you might be thinking to yourself, how the hell do I stop this feeling, this anxiety, this burnout? So how I deal with when I'm going through a burnout is obviously it's impacted my sleep schedule. So the first thing is to get that back on track. Make sure that you're getting the sleep that you need. Obviously, you cannot stop your 9 to 5 unless you're doing contracting. It might be easier to sort of shift your times around a bit more. However, if you're working at 9 to 5, what becomes important is what I like to call a head breather. It's that time when you've been looking at code for too long, your eyes start to go squint, your vision starts to go blurry from looking at it too long. So you need that time to sort of stand up, get some fresh air, go and make a tea or cup of coffee or whatever you need. That's not going to fully solve the problem though. What you then need to start doing is looking at your entire schedule. Because it's been thrown off the rails, everything needs to either shift or it needs to come back into balance. What I mean by this is then you start looking at either side of your 9 to 5. Unfortunately, it's very hard for me to give advice if your job is constantly demanding overtime from you and you basically have no time for yourself. That becomes the last point I made, where you need to decide if that's the right job for you. Unfortunately, that's something that that's case by case basis, and that's something that you have to decide for yourself. However, what we can start to look at is, let's just say you want a really big project and that threw your schedule out of whack. You have your 9 to 5, you need to start looking at things that sort of impacted it and threw it off. So maybe you started working late, you then started gaming late, you started getting less sleep, you started not going to the gym or eating more takeout. Those are the sort of things you identify, and then you say, okay, cool, now that my 9 to 5 has started to sort of go back to normal and there's less overtime, let me just cut out a little bit of gaming, go to bed a little bit earlier, get that sleep in, let me get my gym back on schedule. Maybe you start gym at a different time if it helps, or go for a walk at a different time. All those sort of things can play a role into helping you get back onto that schedule where you allocated everything so that you have time for yourself. Now that you've gotten your schedule back on track, you started to sleep and do all those things, now it's just a matter of time on waiting for your body to just sort of recover from it. It's not going to happen overnight. It happens over time. Just like burnout happens as things start to pile on and the stress starts to pile on. But recovering from a burnout is a slow process that will eventually just wither away once you've sorted out everything around you. So I'm hoping this has given you a bit of insight as to the causes of a burnout and how to sort of avoid future burnouts, but most importantly also, if you're in a burnout, how to deal with it and get yourself back on track. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it down below. Otherwise, please hit that like and subscribe button. Really helps grow the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.